Hello, friends. Uh, so apparently I started streaming. I was like on the dot 8 o'clock, and I realized no one was here, and I was like, why is why is no one here? And I was like, maybe people are just done with Horror Movie Club. Maybe it's over. Maybe nobody wanted to come here anymore. And then I was really trying to figure out, and so I had to go on my YouTube as subscriber and look at it, and turns out the video was on private. I have no idea why. That is strange, but I am so glad that we are here now. And can you hear me? I guess that's the biggest thing. Since I got my new computer, we've had all kinds of technical issues, all kinds of things. But I think I finally kind of got everything figured out. I know it is a little dark. That's a little annoying. That's something I'm still figuring out. But other than that, I think this is happening. Let's see. We got Larry. We have Sarah, 8-Bit Horse, Mark, Martin, Jay Donovan. Yes, it is literally always something, Martin, by the way. There will never be a normal stream on this channel. It's not possible. Let's see. And Batman, no, that was not your fault. The video was private for the first few minutes. And so I had to stop it and try again. But this is exciting. So, so many updates. I feel like, I don't know about anyone else, but during the quarantine situation of everything, I just keep buying things off the internet. How about you guys? And I don't know why. I think it's because it brings me this little sense of something is happening or changing. Something feels different when I buy something. I know that sounds so capitalism, America, whatever, but it really does give sort of bring me these little fake bits of joy or something. So yeah, I got my new computer. That was great. And then I also got a webcam because turns out MacBooks can't webcam thingy is so terrible, so blurry. So I got this one. I am working. I don't really know how to use it yet. I'm figuring it out, but it's definitely 100 times more clear than my computer camera. So that's fun. Not that you guys need to know about all of this, but yeah. So that's what I've been doing in quarantine. I've just been trying to upgrade some things, to make things better, and for my channel because I don't know. I just felt like it was sort of time to start working hard and putting a little bit of money back into the channel. Particularly, thank you to you guys from Patreon also that really helped me be able to make these upgrades. I actually 1,000% use that money literally for the channel to make sure that I can make content that is better and more fun for you guys. So, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, you guys are saying you get the whole buying stuff in quarantine thing. Also, was it Sarah? Oh, yeah, up top said not dark, moody. That's right. We're just moody right now. It's not dark. It's just moody. Who else is in here? Ben, Ollie. Let's see here. You guys. Oh my God, Claire. Are you kidding me right now? Claire and I went to college together. I'm so happy you're here. Also, Claire has an amazing Twitch. She's under, I think it's Claire Witch Baby. She also has a Twitter. Feel free to link your Twitch in the chat. But I started watching you on Twitch recently, which is so funny that you're here because I don't know. I've been getting into Twitch recently, just watching people, and yours are so entertaining. So good job. Proud of you. Let's see. Who said games and puzzles? Yeah, games and puzzles for sure during quarantine. Oh my God. I actually bought a puzzle literally months ago that never arrived. They attempted one drop off and it never came. And I was like, I think this is a sign I need to stop buying things. All right. Well, today, as you can tell from the title, we're talking about Prometheus from 2012. This is very exciting for me because okay, 2012. I guess I was a year out of high school. And it's funny because when I was watching this movie today, I was like having flashbacks of like I was like, "Oh my god, I think I've seen this movie," particularly with the character of David, and we're going to get into, characters and plot and all that. But particularly with the character of David, who's like the robot dude, I was like, I have seen this movie. And so it was very funny to like notice that. And that happens to me every now and then where I think I haven't seen something and then I start watching it. I'm like, oh my God, I saw this movie when I was like a high schooler or whatever. But it's thrilling. And by the way, I really liked it. So this is like a part of the Alien franchise, if you will. And this was, I think it's like, is it like the 5th in the franchise? It's like something like that. One of you probably know better than I do. But this was also directed by Ridley Scott, who of course did Alien. And I really, really liked this one. I think, honestly, other than Alien, of course, being the iconic film that it is, this is my favorite sci-fi horror of the month. I definitely liked it more than Ghost of Mars, which I still just did not like that movie. I had the hardest time getting through that movie, guys. It was rough. And then what was the other one that we watched? Wait, look at my Twitter. Time blends together. We watched, Event Horizon. Okay, Event Horizon was cool for sure, but I just loved this movie, and I think it's literally because there was like a weird nostalgic aspect to me, like realizing I had seen it before, and that freaking robot played by Michael Fassbender, he killed it in this movie. And it's funny because also like some of the characters in this, particularly Meredith, who is played by Charlize Theron, she is like sort of like what the girl in Ghost of Mars should have been, just like such a better version of that character. Let me know if you agree. But yeah, so I guess let us get into it. And also, as always, if you guys have facts, if you guys have fun stuff about Prometheus, please put it in here. Put it in the chat. I want to hear from you. Okay, so... Oh, I was right. It was the 5th installment of the Alien franchise. Damn. It's almost like I know things. Okay. So, like I said, came out in 2012, directed by Ridley Scott. It was written by a few peeps here. We have a bunch of writer credits on this one. We have John Spahitz, I think, Damon Lindelof, and it looks like the other big thing that John did was Doctor Strange, which is a movie I actually did really love that came out in 2016. If anyone's seen Doctor Strange, that's like, I'm not like super into superhero-esque movies, but that one for me was really fun. And then David I'm saying his last name wrong. Lindelof, not Lindeldorf. He is a writer on Lost, The Leftovers, and Watchmen, which by the way, guys, I finished watching Watchmen. That's been sort of so Travis and I, we watched the whole series of The Sopranos. That was like a quarantine show. Every night with dinner, we would watch an episode. It was like our nightly ritual, where we would like hang out for that time, and and so afterwards we were sort of floating in the ether trying to find a new show, and we finally started Watchmen, and it is freaking phenomenal. It is one of my favorite shows I've ever seen. It is so surprising, and it explains everything you want it to explain. Like every single confusing thing that happens in the first few episodes, like everything comes back around in that show in a way that is just so good. So it's cool that one of the writers from Prometheus is on that show. Okay. And then we, of course, have credits for Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett. Because even though this isn't necessarily the same characters as Alien, it is based on, the elements, the things about Alien that makes this movie part of the franchise, even though it's not necessarily the same characters. They still get, some creds, which they should. In terms of characters, we have some amazing actors in this one. So, Elizabeth Shaw, she's played by Noomi Rapace. Sorry, she's Swedish. But she's also in movies. She's in the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies. And she is sort of what I'll call like our final girl, the girl that's going to make it to the end, using some horror movie, logo in here. Though I will say Prometheus, I would not consider this a horror film necessarily. Definitely, it's a sci-fi. You could call it sci-fi action. You could call it sci-fi thriller. I don't really know if you could call it sci-fi horror necessarily. And let me know if you guys disagree with me, because obviously that's the theme of the month is sci-fi horror, because we are a horror channel. But when I was watching this, I was like, I'm not sure if there's enough horror elements to make this one work. Like fit in that category, but I don't know. There's some stuff, like there are some like gross out moments, some blood moments, but I just don't think it has enough to push it past sci-fi and into horror land. But let me know. Yeah, okay, well, who just mentioned that? Mark Shaw, when she's having the baby ripped out of her. You know what? That is pretty much that is pretty horrific. So that can count. We can call that. And yeah, there is some body horror for sure. Yeah, this is good. See, this is why I ask you guys. You guys always have good looks. Yeah. Claire, you're so sweet. Thank you for being here. All right. So, I guess I'll introduce characters as we kind of go through the plot, actually, because I think there's so many people in this movie. I think it'll be more helpful to talk through it like that. So, basically, this one, we have a spacecraft, and the movie starts out, and we're already introduced to my favorite, David, which also makes me think of Schitt's Creek, of just being like, David. If anyone's a Schitt's Creek fan, let me know. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. So we basically, before we even get to David, we have sort of a cold open scene where we see this alien creature who, by the way, looks a lot like a character from Watchmen, which I'm only making that reference because I just finished watching it, but it's interesting. Sort of this humanoid-looking character. He's clearly an alien, but he has a lot of human qualities to him. He has like a human-looking form and face and body, but clearly alien. And he drinks this unidentified liquid, and his body dissolves very a la like Avengers Endgame feeling. And according to the Dead Meat, I watched his kill count today of Prometheus, and he said it's actually the same special effects people that did Endgame. And so I think that's very funny. They kind of like took back from a movie they had done previously, which, I don't know, or a callback, if you will. Kind of fun. And we sort of see, as we go into the opening credits, something about the alien's DNA is moving about. It is being destroyed. It is like being recombined. It is shifting and moving. Something's happening there. And then it's like, boom, Prometheus. Okay. And then we are on to the ship. We see a little bit of David hanging out, doing his thing, basically killing time. And it turns out he's been killing time for 2 years while the rest of the crew just sleeps, because space travel takes a very long time. So we eventually have one of them wake up. I believe it is Meredith, who wakes up first. And then she says, all right, time to wake up the rest of the crew. And so Dave wakes them all up. They all come out of their giant, sleeping pod things. And then we pretty much immediately go into meeting our characters and seeing what's going on here. So the two main people, by the way, this is taking place in 2089, it says. Actually 2091. So Why do we need to be that specific? We don't. But so basically, the backstory of this is 2089. These two oh my god, I'm not gonna be able to say it. Oh my god, Wow, guys, do you ever just not be able to say a word? Because I can't say it. Archaeology people. That's what I'm going to say right now. How embarrassing. But also hilarious. Elizabeth Shaw and Charlie Holloway. So they are, I assume, husband and wife. And they discover basically a star map. They basically discover that all these ancient civilizations have the same imagery in all of their like ancient texts, cave drawings, whatever, of people looking up to these planets that are in a very specific order. So they think that some alien has come down to say, this is our galaxy and we are like your creators. So, and because it shows up in so many different cultures, they're convinced that the drawing is actually a map to go to the galaxy or whatever where these aliens were from, and that it's a call to action. It's asking them to go there, and so they are now called to go there. So, and so they end up getting the funding from this big corporation. I think it's, Wayland Corporation, by this really, really, really old man named Peter Wayland. And he basically gives them like literally $1 trillion to fund this travel. And the idea for it, which I think is maybe the most fascinating thing about the plot of this film, is the whole idea. Are you guys in the chat? Archaeologists. I know! Oh my god, I'm dead. I'm sorry. You guys are so funny. I was like, I could not say it. I could not. But Jay Donovan literally sounding it out for me, that's all I needed. You guys kill me. Okay. So the biggest idea in this movie, sort of the overall concept that I think makes it very unique in this subgenre, is this idea of people using aliens to discover where we come from, not necessarily as, just trying to find life on other planets, but being convinced that the life that they are exploring on other planets are actually our creators. They are the ones that created us. And of course, this is funny because I'm currently in I just started season 7 of X-Files, and there's a lot of this going on in X-Files right now, so it all works together. But this idea that these beings are sort of what we understand as God on Earth, and our creators are just sort of these like hyped up versions of us. And there's a nice compliment thing going on with with our what's his name, Peter Wayland, the old dude, and David, because he created David, this robot who is sort of taking care of everyone. He is a supercomputer. He has like learned all the languages so he can communicate with the aliens. Like, he is kind of this perfect creature, but he is sort of he's mirroring what's going on with the rest of the story, where if these aliens created us and then we create David, and they have some sort of these like philosophical conversations between different characters in David throughout the movie, kind of discussing why this journey is so important to everyone. Well, not everyone. Some people on the ship are really just there for the money, and they make that very clear. But the ones that are there, particularly Elizabeth and Charlie, they're there because they want to understand their creator. They want to ask them questions. They want to like know why they were created. They want the questions to the universe, right? And that's why they're going on this journey. Okay. So a couple of other characters that come in that I just really, really like. One is the driver of the ship, or captain. I don't know everyone's titles. But the character's name is Janik, played by Idris Elba. And he is such a badass. I just love everything about his character. He's like so cool and strong and very cool. I don't know. And let's see. We have another character who's I'm just kind of saying the ones that stand out to me the most. I'm not going to go through all of them. Fifield, who is, I think he's like Scottish or something, played by Sean Harris. And he's sort of this character that is, he's the one that's really just there for the money. He is not interested in these big questions. He doesn't want to find aliens. He is there to make the money. He's scared of things that he overcompensates with a lot of anger, I'll say. But he does bring us some pretty exciting death scenes that we'll talk about a little bit later. And what else do I want to say? Those are the ones I'll focus on now, the ones that stood out to me the most. If anyone else comes up, then we'll talk about it. Yes, okay, so Martin just said, I'm not sure what this was in response to, so sorry about that. But I think this works better as part of the Alien universe. Nothing feels forced here. I feel the same way. And it's funny because when I was watching the Dead Meat kill count of this movie, he starts it off basically saying that he didn't like the movie, and that he feels like it's like, I think he said like, just like weak overall, using some like random callbacks to the Alien franchise to make it work, things like that. But overall, like, I thought it worked really well. But it's also probably because Alien is one of the franchises that I am not the most familiar with, so maybe that's why I don't have as strong of feelings about the different sequels and all that. Oh, nice. 8-Bit Horse said Sean Harris was also the villain in the last Mission Impossible movie. Well, look at him, doing great. All right. All right, let's keep going through the plot a little bit. Right, they're on the way to this planet to meet these humanoids, who in this movie they're called the Engineers, by the way, which I think comes up a lot in the Alien franchise. Once again, not my top franchise, so I'm not going to go into depth about the different namings and things, but definitely a part of it. And yes. Okay, so when they finally get there, they basically immediately have some conflict about the reason for the journey. So Peter Wayland, the CEO, whatever, he has a video message when everyone wakes up saying why they're there, etc., etc. But he also makes them assume that he's dead. I think he even says, like, I'll be dead long before you watch this. I think Charlie comes up and says, wow, I didn't know I had to follow a ghost when he comes up to do his speech. They make it very clear that we think he's supposed to be dead. And I'm just going to go ahead and spoil this because we're spoiling the whole movie tonight. But he is also Meredith's father, and that comes up. But no one really knows that he is Meredith's father. So she has a very strong feeling about leadership on this ship and who should be making the calls. Of course, she thinks she should be making the calls. And so she basically says, if you guys see anything or see any aliens, you're not allowed to talk to them. She's like, we are here for research and that's it. But of course, our main characters of Elizabeth and Charlie are like, no, we are here for answers. We are here to talk to these people. That's the whole reason we're here. We've traveled for 2 years to get here. But I guess because they were all asleep, nobody was really having these really important conversations. But yeah, so Meredith basically says, if you see them, come back, report to me, and I will give you permission to talk to them, or make contact is probably better to say. So they get there, and by the way, this movie is definitely very beautifully, like all the landscapes are gorgeous. A lot of it was filmed in Iceland, and I can't remember where else, but some of these like big shots, it just looks, it's like a place where clearly like life is possible, and you find that out pretty quickly. They go into this cave once they arrive, and they realize they can even take off their helmets because there is breathable air, not on the surface of the planet, but in these cave systems, because there's, unclear reasons beyond my scientific understanding that it's making the combinations down there so they can breathe. And so they take off there. It's sort of like they start acting reckless basically as soon as they arrive on the planet. They're just kind of like they're just like doing their own thing. They're definitely not listening to Meredith. Particularly, I would say Charlie is kind of more down to push the boundaries. And so they all take off their, helmets, walking around. And when they start to explore, they find some wild things. They find what sort of feels like tombs or something like that, with these giant. They find one particular large humanoid-looking head. And by large, I mean like, the size of a small house. And they, at that point, they realize, oh wow, like, whatever they are and we were made in their image because they're very human-like. And then we get a very weird sequence while they're in this cave system, which is maybe one of the weirder parts of the movie that I don't think makes much sense, is they see like these ghosts, these kind of like fuzzy technological looking ghosts running through the cave system and eventually dying, and it's sort of like a memory being presented to them of these people. I don't think it makes sense. I think there's a better way to let them know that people had already come to explore there, and not people necessarily, but someone came there to explore and were killed. And but the way in which they do it is a little strange and unexplained. So that's one moment where I'm like, I don't know. Okay. So, one of the most exciting things they find when they're in there is a decapitated corpse of a large alien, which they think to be an engineer. So, and this is one of like the ghost creatures. They basically end up following the path the ghost creatures had. And they find an actual corpse of one of them that's decapitated. The body is outside of this door. The head is inside the door. And they really want to take the head back to the ship. So they can see what it is, look at it, dissect it, etc. And while they're in there, a couple of people start being like, this is... And I don't understand why necessarily. It's the characters of Fifield, unclear, and Milburn, and they are... I think they're geologists, so they're really there to study like rocks and things, and they are kind of freaked out the moment they start seeing remains of aliens. They're like, whoa, no. I think they did not expect to find anything like that, and they want to get out of there, so they just peace out, and they're gonna like head back to the ship, and of course they get lost. Classic horror. So maybe there are some horror tropes in this, more than I thought when I started talking. But so they peace out. And they attempt to go back to the ship. By the way, the ship is called Prometheus. I don't think I said that yet, but that's the name of the ship, thus the name of the movie. And they eventually get lost. And the whole expedition itself is cut short because there is some weather issues, and they basically have to get back to the ship. And it's a little funny. They're like, you must be back on the ship in 15 minutes. And it's like sort of unclear where they got that number. Meredith is very much like... you better be back in 15 minutes or I'm closing the door and you're all gonna die out there. Like, she's just kind of this, like, brutal leader. And by the way, like, we don't know that she's the daughter of this guy yet. We don't know that that's all going on. So it's just, like, you just kind of, like, hate her most of the time. And honestly, you never really grow to like her. She's a pretty unlikable character overall, but hey. Also, I just turned the... brightness up on my computer and I can see a lot better and I don't have to squint so much. It's amazing technology. How are you guys in the chat? Everyone okay? I'm just talking away. Oh, Slops is here. Hey. I know it's probably extremely early in Australia, so thank you for being here. Ooh, I love this from Martin. He said, the name of the ship being Prometheus, who tried to steal fire from the gods. is cool too. That's a very cool thing to think about. I honestly didn't look up much about Prometheus as he's a Greek god, right? Yeah, from Greek mythology and how that would like work with this. But it is interesting to look up. I'll just pull it up for a minute. We're just chilling on Wikipedia now. But I do want to talk about it for a sec. So in Greek mythology, Prometheus, possibly meaning in ancient Greek forethought, which is interesting, is a Titan culture hero and trickster. Ooh, I love that. Who is credited with the creation of humanity from clay, and who defies the gods by stealing fire and giving it to the humans. Wow, what a perfect name. See, this is why you guys are here, so we can, like, get into things like this. Yes, I absolutely love that. Like, the idea that Prometheus as a ship is all about taking these humans to figure out where they came from. And Prometheus as a god created humanity from clay and gave them fire, gave them the ability to develop and learn and all of that. Very, very cool. It also says Prometheus establishes animal sacrifice as practiced in the ancient Greek religion. Yikes! Speaking of animals but never sacrifice, Toby, come here. Here's Toby. He's happy to see you. He's so sweet because whenever I'm live streaming in here, he comes and lays on the bed next to me. But it's because he loves bedtime. Bedtime is his favorite time of day. Like, I can be on the couch, and if it's like, I don't know, like 11 or like midnight, he'll just leave. He'll just leave the room and go to bed by himself. Or if at any point, come back here, they want to see you. They want to see you. And if at any point I say, all right, let's go to bed, he leaps off the couch. I was going to say like an animal. Makes sense. And runs to the bed and lays down. It is truly his favorite time of day. And also maybe my favorite time of day. Because it's like the time where I like come in here and I get snuggly with Toby and we watch like X-Files or a movie or something. We had the best time. Oh, do you guys want to see something really cute? Hold on. Actually, I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Maybe I will. He has, I don't know where it is. Let me see. I didn't make my bed today, so there's a lot going on right now. Ugh, I have to find it. It's too cute. Oh, I see it. 1 second. This is Toby's lamb chop, which he has taken to bringing in the bed to sleep with at night. And there is nothing more beautiful or adorable than seeing Toby like snuggling with this tiny creature that looks very similar to him. Yeah, you love it. You love it. It's truly, my heart. My heart. He is my heart. Okay, now you've all gotten your taste of Toby for the night. I'll try to show him again at the end if I remember. Ooh, I have to give this one last bit of info because it relates us a little bit back to the land of horror. And that is that apparently the subtitle to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was The Modern Prometheus. Frankenstein, The Modern Prometheus. That is wild. I've never heard that before. Wikipedia, an incredible place to be. That's awesome. We got facts, y'all. We got cold, hard facts. Jay Donovan says, let's see, you watched season 10 and some of 11 of X-Files. I am nervous but excited to see the remake seasons because I'm loving the current season so much. I don't know if it's going to be bad. I don't know. I'm scared. I'm loving it. Alright, where are we even in the plot? Who knows? Let's see. We said... Oh, they had to get back to the ship in 15 minutes. See, we were somewhere. And it actually gets very stressful because the head is like, I guess, cumbersome, heavy, I don't know, but it almost gets them all killed trying to get this head back onto the ship. But they finally do. And something else to note from this, like, this group of scenes right now is that David, coming back to my favorite David, we see him take some sort of cylinder from the structure, and it's something with some sort of black liquid inside. And so this is the first time, maybe not, it seems like the first time to me that David, who is a robot, reminder, does something outside of what the humans are telling him to do. And we start to wonder maybe if he has his own agenda or what, or he has instructions from someone else, maybe his creator, or if he is almost so human he is starting to make his own choices. We start to have those kind of questions, which once again are very interesting questions to have in the concept of this movie, trying to find your creators. So that's pretty interesting. And we'll see what he does with that in a hot second. But I'll say it now. So he puts it in a like a, I think it's like whiskey or something, and feeds this liquid to Charlie. And Charlie has basically, he sort of, they have this conversation about like what lengths would Charlie go to find his answers. And he basically says, I would do anything. Which I think, you know, interprets to like, I would die for it. And so with that information, David gives him this liquid to drink. And that night, guess what? Charlie and Elizabeth, who I think are married, unclear, have some sexy time. Okay, it's the first night back after the expedition. They are, oh my gosh, Jay Donovan. Thank you for your club donation. Truly appreciate it. It says, new Toby toy money only. Okay, deal. Absolute deal. But actually, we need to go buy him treats. I will literally use that money to go buy Toby treats. That is so sweet. Ugh. I love you guys. You're the best. Oh, sorry. Also, Batman. Oh, that's a good idea to do some voting on my community tab on YouTube. But we did already decide on next month. I'm not sure if you were here last week. But we are doing Vincent Price movies. So it's very exciting. Oh, dang, you guys are so ahead of the game. Mark already told you. I'm like scrolling through the chat like you guys aren't answering each other's own questions. But I'm very, very excited about, oh God, I cannot wait. And I can't wait to see what you guys vote on. It's gonna be thrilling. But the trailer for that, which I think is gonna be a little bit different than my normal, I usually do like, you know, those quick little silly videos for the Horror Movie Club trailer. I think instead this month I'm gonna do like a little bit of a deep dive on Vincent Price and his life. So we kind of have that context going into July's Horror Movie Club. So I think that's what we're gonna do. But I'm very excited because there's so many of his movies that I have never seen. I feel like it's kind of almost like a blind spot in my horror knowledge. So I'm very excited for that. Oh, guys. Okay. This is great. I have to tell you guys something so exciting. And I already mentioned it to some people today. But July is 1 year of Horror Movie Club. We've been coming here every single week for a year. Like, that's insane. And I think the first movie we did, I think it was Sleepaway Camp, I'm pretty sure. But we've been here a year. Like, how, I don't know, that's just like so crazy to me. And I think we only missed like 1 or 2 weeks. We've been very consistent. But that's amazing. And also, like, if you think about it, that's like, you know, 50 movies we've come to talk about, which also like doesn't seem possible, but wild. Oh, we also have Matthew in the chat. Hello, thank you for being here. If I miss saying hi to anyone, I am truly so sorry. I love you, and I'm grateful you're here. But yeah, 1 year, that's freaking wild. Okay, Shall we keep talking about Prometheus? Maybe. Okay. So, all right. Where was I? Oh, yes. Elizabeth and Charlie had sex. Yikes. Okay. And we'll see why yikes in a hot sec. So, after we have this, like, night where everyone's getting laid, they take us back to inside the cave situation where once again Milburn and why can I never remember what his name is? Fafet? I forgot it again. Fafield, which I'm sure I'm saying wrong. Unclear. Fefield? Fafield? Fefield. I don't know. But they are still lost in this cave. And while they're in there, they of course are gonna get murdered by some gross out creatures. So they end up finding these, I guess I'll call them phallic looking snake alien creatures. And they sort of pop up, and at first, I think it's Milburn's like, oh, they're so beautiful specimens, oh, so beautiful. And then, of course, they have to attack because it's alien. And they attack in an interesting way. They sort of, wrap around them like a snake, like a earth snake typically would. But then they also break into their suits and go into their mouths. And in a similar way, I think we saw this kind of imagery before. And it even makes... Oh, is that in Stranger Things? Yes. That I think I brought this up when we talked about Alien, about all the things that Stranger Things, a lot of their imagery and stuff reminds me a lot of Alien, and this did as well, where it's like, I know there's I can't remember their character names right now, but the kid that goes missing in the first season, and he has it's like in his mouth, and like all the tentacle situations are holding him down. It's like that is also like in here. So I don't know. It's all working together. All right. Let's see where we are. Oh, also these snake creatures, they spray a corrosive fluid that melts through their helmets, which is wild. And that'll come up again as well. But the next day, the crew comes back, and they are there to, they think, save their friends, but of course they end up finding Milburn's corpse, but they do not see Fairfield yet. And did I miss the part where they are dealing with his head? Okay, I'm going to mention it now in case I skipped that part. But they do end up dissecting that head that they saved the first day, and they do something with the spinal cord to kind of make it come to life again, and it ends up totally exploding. But what's most important about this is that the engineers, they find the head that they think is the head is actually the helmet. And they David actually breaks off the helmet, or the exterior, almost like an exterior skeleton, and then underneath you see once again this very human looking head, still alien, still larger than a typical human head, but with human features. And so that's very important for the Alien franchise, of seeing these engineers, what we once thought was their head, we realize now to actually just be their helmet, and these aliens to actually look a lot like us. So that's pretty cool. Okay. So in case I don't come back to that, that's what's going on there. And then one of my favorite space style things, or space style technologies they have in this movie that I just think is really cool, is I think it's the geologists that have it, but it's these little balls that they throw into the air in the cave, and they spin and have like the red lasers where they can like basically like take maps of any space. And I never really like think about like space technology in that way, because as I've said before, I'm not huge into sci-fi stuff. But I really loved like that particular like technology moment. I was like, oh, like this is very cool. So that's a very cool one. If anyone else has some fave, like, sci-fi, futuristic technology moments in this movie that you particularly liked, let me know in the chat. Let's see. So, now basically we're at a point where things start to go very, very wrong. And now we get into the part of the movie that I feel that definitely feels the most horror-esque. So one thing, Charlie, he sees something crawling around his eyeball. Never a good sign. So the thing that David fed him is taking over his body, and it's infected him. Okay, so that's already bad. And he starts to get sicker and sicker and sicker. So, because he's out on this expedition, by the way, with everyone, trying to recover Milbourne and Fifield, and throughout this, he gets worse and worse. They take him back to Prometheus, and when they get to the ship, he is, like, literally collapsed. He's not looking good. And Meredith, being Meredith, and also very similar to Ripley, doesn't want to let him back on the ship because he is clearly infected and could infect everybody else. And it's funny because the same exact scenario happens in Alien, if you guys remember. And and nobody listens to her. No one listens to Ripley, and that ends up causing, like, the rest of the movie. But what's interesting is in Alien, Ripley is very much the hero of the movie, and so we're very much like, oh, how could no one listen to her, blah, blah, blah. But in this one, Meredith's not the hero of the movie, and so she just seems like a jerk, which is so funny how these two female characters can be, like, viewed so differently through, like, who's the lead character, even though they're doing the same exact thing. Just something interesting to think about. So she doesn't want to let him back on the ship. And at this point, Charlie starts to understand that something is really wrong with him. And so he ends up telling Meredith to burn him with a flamethrower she's casually holding. And she does. And so after he basically dies. And of course, Elizabeth is this is her husband, totally distraught, so upset. And when she's in her room, David comes in and reveals to her that she is pregnant. Yikes. And not only pregnant, but around 3 months pregnant. And she says, no, that's not possible because I'm not fertile and I can't have children. And he says, okay, well, did you and Charlie have sex? And she's like, yes, but what? And so clearly then we have something of alien origin growing inside of her, and she has to fully get it out as soon as possible. And I think this, as mentioned earlier in the chat, is definitely the most horror moment of the movie for me. She's, like, running around, people are trying to stop her, she gets into this, like, some kind of machine thing, and instructs it to be cut out of her, and it is very stressful, very upsetting, and this squid-like creature is pulled from her stomach. Yikes. The squid-like creature, I do wish it was, like, a little different. I wish it was more in the style of the first Alien, like the chest burster dude. Not that it needs to be a replica of that, because of course we want different monsters and all of that. But I wish it was, like, I don't know, the squid, I was like, why is it a squid? Like, I was like, I just felt like it didn't really fit the imagery of the film. But, I don't know. Still very cool. Still a very cool horror moment for us in that. Let's see. Alright, after she, has a C-section of the squid, she's coming out, she's looking at through the cabins, and she sees everyone sitting in a room, and who should be sitting there but Wayland, the guy that owns this whole thing, gave her all the money, and was supposed to be very, very dead. And so it turns out he has been sleeping on this ship, and he wanted to come meet the engineers or whoever, the gods, whoever they may be, because he wants to be saved. He doesn't want to die. Classic. I get it. And so he basically put his body into a deep sleep so it could survive to the point of meeting his creators. Uh-oh. Can you guys hear that? I don't know. There's a very loud... Someone has started playing very loud music next to my window. But I think it's in a car. So I think it will move. Okay, I don't think it's in a car. Give me a second. It stopped. I think it was a car. That was also stressful because I like peeked out my window and I was like, what if someone's just staring back at me? Clearly I watched too many horror movies. But yeah. That is classic. Alright, where was I? Yes, Waylon's alive. Okay. This is also the point in which we find out that Meredith is his daughter, which is just, it does add to her character for sure and her intentions. And then from here we start to get the majority of the kills in this film. We're now like in the last third of the movie. And so the most fun one, I will say, is Fifield, or whatever, comes back. He has been clearly infected with something, is totally mutated and icky looking. And he comes back to the Prometheus and starts killing crew members. And then he is eventually killed. I think one of the craziest ones, I can't remember who he kills, but he like punches straight through somebody's, glass helmet thing. And it's actually kind of brutal. And I was like, ooh, that was intense. He's also running around totally like on fire as well. And the actor, by the way, Sean Harris, did all the stunts for this part. Like, he is on wires, he is flying and jumping at people, he is literally on fire. He did it all, which I totally respect. That is badass. So yeah, he kills a few people and then he eventually gets killed. And then we have the most, I guess, heroic death of the sequence. And this is Janik, of course. So coming back to him, he is captain of the ship, and works with a couple other guys in driving it. And basically, we start to understand that not only are the engineers here, but there is a giant ship that's in this like kind of U shape that what they find on board, this liquid, this black liquid or whatever, was actually meant to kill off all of humanity. So this all gets introduced, I would say maybe rather quickly, but the idea is that these creators were actually going to destroy what they created, aka humans. And this was kind of the plan. As they have been destroyed before, not necessarily humans, but life on Earth. And so that was the whole plan, and for some reason they decided not to do it. And so that's important, so hold that in your brain. And sorry, I'm trying to figure out, how did they get back into the cave? Oh, okay. So basically, Wayland, the old man, he wants to be taken to the engineers to ask to, for more life or whatever. So the crew ends up taking them, particularly David, to go meet with the engineers that are in there, they believe. They go in, and David wakes up an engineer and speaks to him in some sort of language he can understand and tries to explain what Wayland wants from him. And once again, as a reminder, Wayland is David's creator. And the engineer, in a kind of wild way, as David is talking, just rips off his head. And it's very upsetting because he's been my favorite character the entire time, and just totally decapitates David. And not only decapitates him, but used his head to beat over Wayland and kill him, which he was, pretty easy to kill because he was like 100 years old. And by waking him up, by waking him up is basically assured the doom for Earth, because the engineer then reactivates his spacecraft, and now is going to destroy the Earth. Is what we sort of assume is going on. So Elizabeth, she runs out and she warns Janek back on the Prometheus that the engineer is going to release this black liquid on the Earth, and they need to do something to stop the spacecraft. And now, finally, we are at Janek's heroic moment where he decides to not listen to Meredith, who's saying, let's go home now. But he is going to sacrifice himself and drive his ship, Prometheus, into the alien spacecraft to destroy it before it can take it to Earth. Yeah, because basically Meredith's like, let's go home, and Elizabeth is like, if you don't do something, there is no home. Classic alien movie. So let's see. From here. Oh yeah. So basically Meredith and Elizabeth try to get away as this explosion is happening. And this is a very funny death moment. So basically Meredith and Elizabeth are trying to outrun the spaceship that is basically now rolling down onto the Earth to crush them. And they're running. It's funny because I didn't even think about this when I was watching it, but the dead meat made me think about it. Which is, they just run in the shadow of the spaceship coming down instead of moving slightly to the side so it won't hit them. So it rolls down. Eventually Elizabeth gets smart and she gets out of the way, and then Meredith is crushed. So a bummer, but had to happen. So Elizabeth finally ends up going to actually what they call a lifeboat, which is a sort of a different part of the ship that could detach. That was actually made for Meredith to escape if she needed to, probably put in place by her father. And she tries to go there, but the engineer comes in and attacks. And then Elizabeth, who has her alien offspring locked in this chamber, releases her alien offspring to attack the engineer, which it does, lucky her, and basically takes him down so she can escape. I don't think that her offspring necessarily did this because it recognizes Elizabeth as mother. I think it did it because it's like a killing machine and was going to kill whatever was closest, which happened to be the engineer. That's probably what I think, but who knows. Okay. And so from here we have Elizabeth being finally our final girl, our lone survivor. And then she is spoken to by David. David, though decapitated, is still alive, or whatever that means for a robot. And so he convinces her to come help him, even though David is the reason her husband is dead, but they gotta get off this planet. So she goes, picks up David's head, puts it in a bag, which I think is very funny. And they decide they're going to go off together, and he says he's going to take her home, and she says, actually, no, I want to continue on to the engineer's world, wherever that is, and ask them. So she wants to continue this journey to ask why they wanted to destroy humanity, what they did wrong. Once again, trying to meet her creators, trying to talk to them. She is just going to continue her journey. From here, we do get a, similar to the first Alien film, sort of this sign-off monologue of her talking about being the last survivor, etc., etc. And very similar to Ripley's at the end of Alien. And they are then going to go off together. And then we do get a, what feels almost like a post-credit scene, but it's just, the last scene of the film. And that is the engineer basically having a creature that looks very much like a xenomorph pop out of him. and I'm not even sure if that's necessarily, it's just some sort of alien creature, but it definitely looks exactly like the xenomorphs from the original Alien. Um, Popping out of him, saying, and it's unclear to me what that necessarily means. Like, was the xenomorph like a parasite that grew and exploded out of him, or is this just the inner form of the engineer? Like, there's a lot that I don't exactly know what that means, but I think that's also because of my lack of, you know, being fully known about the Alien franchise. Yeah. Yeah, Martin said the ending was the only thing about this movie I wasn't sure if I liked. It's similar. It's not that I didn't like it. It's just I don't know why it was there or what it was meant to tell us. Like, it didn't actually give me more information. I was just kind of like, oh, I don't know. 8-Bit Horror said lots of heads and bags in this movie. That is true. There are lots of heads and bags in this movie. At least 2, which is more than most movies, I'll say. But yeah, that is Prometheus. Okay, so let me see here. I was curious how this movie did when it came out. I mean, it made money. So, I mean, budgeted 120 million, box office for about 400 million. Like, the movie made money. I'm very curious, like, what is it like, I mean, for the most basic of understanding the Rotten Tomatoes score, which I don't always agree with, but just curious to know. It's a 73%. That's really good. 68% audience score. Honestly, that's great. And I'll say for me, the best parts of this movie, and this is where I want you guys to start telling me in the chat as we wind down here. Favorite kills of the movie, and just things that made it special for you, I guess. So for me, once again, I love David. I think the character is really helpful in terms of understanding the concept that this film was going for. I think he's a very likable character as well. Like, everything from the beginning of him, like, watching old movies to, like, understand how to communicate with humans. Like, everything about him is just, like, so sweet. Even when he's doing evil things, I still like him, so that's fun. And then my favorite kill, I think the funniest one for me is when the old man gets hit in the head with David's decapitated head. I think that one's really funny. And I think my favorite kill, even though it's not a graphic kill, Janek's death of, like, the heroic self-sacrifice, along with his 2 crew members that are basically down. They're like, yeah, let's do this. I think it's, like, a really, like, special death in this movie, which is fun. And then overall, I just like how Fulfilled or whatever is, like, mutated in this horrible creature, coming back, and killing people and being killed. Like, his entire sequence of his journey was really, really fun to me. Let's see. Interesting. Batman says, I personally think this film would have been better if it was set 100 to 200 years further in the setting future. Interesting. Something they don't go into this in this movie, which I think is typically helpful in these sci-fi horror movies, is the idea of, like, what's going on Earth during this. I feel like we don't really get a sense of that. Not to my memory. But yeah, we don't really get a sense of, like, what's going on Earth. And I think sometimes that context for these alien movies can be helpful. I kind of wish we had a little more of that. Ooh, I'm on 5% battery. I gotta plug this baby in. Okay. A lot of people like the phallic snake killings. I really like those. Yeah. Ben says the next movie in the series kind of goes backwards. Yeah, the rest of the movies in the Alien franchise I haven't seen, to be honest with you. And, but from what I've read, those seem to be the worst ranked. Like, as they go on, they get worse and worse, worse and worse, which I think is pretty typical of sequels. But like I said, I really liked this one. I thought it was really fun. I'm going to get my charger so we can talk for a few more minutes. I'm back. Okay. You know what's so sad, guys, that I just realized? I brought a beer in here and never opened it. I just went into the stream and started talking, and now it's an hour later and I never drank my beer. So sad. All right. So, this is bringing us to the end of Sci-Fi Horror Month. Wild. And so, once again, next month we are doing Vincent Price movies. I don't know what we're going to start with yet. I need to think about that. I'm also going to watch some Vincent Price, like, documentaries over the next few days. Yes, it is Tecate. I love Tecate. But that is what we're doing next month. I'm very excited about it. And that's about it. I do want to get off soon because my Patreon people, we are about to watch, I think you guys voted on Cabin in the Woods. If I just lied, I hope I didn't lie. I did voting this time versus me just picking the movie. Let me see. Where is it? Nothing loads when I live stream. It's too hard. Yes, it's Cabin in the Woods. Hell yeah. Alright, cool. So I'm going to hop up here and then I'll send that link out. But, guys, thank you so much for being here. Mostly, thank you for a year of Horror Movie Club. Cheers to you. Cheers to Toby. That is so impressive to me. Honestly, like, in everything about, like, the fact that I've been on YouTube as long as I have is impressive to me. Like, I am very proud of the fact that I really, like, stuck it out on here. And guys, we are really close. I'm gonna start maybe doing this. I never really say, like, subscribe to my channel in my videos. I always just kind of chill and assume people will subscribe if they want. But I might say in the next few videos because we are really close to 4,000 subscribers, and that is so exciting. Like, I remember, like, it was so hard to get to 1,000 subscribers. Like, that was, like, oh my god, it was so hard. And now we're almost at 4,000 subscribers. Like, that feels mind-blowing to me. So, just thank you all. Because it's, like, all you guys. Like, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. But, yeah. Coolio. I always hate saying goodbye. We can say goodbye with Toby. Come here, Toby. It's your papa. I know. He just made a noise like, please don't. Please don't, Mom. I'm sleeping. Alright. Here he is. And we shall say goodnight. Have a good night. I'll try to let you guys know the movie we're going to watch next week sooner rather than later. If I'm being so honest, it probably will be up on, like, Saturday or Sunday. So you guys have a couple days to watch it. But yeah, also I think a lot of Vincent Price movies, I've seen them on Tubi. So hopefully a lot of the movies we watch this month will be free. Or you'll be able to find them streaming somewhere for free because most of them will be very old movies, obviously. So that'll be nice too. Alright, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you all. You're the best. And have a nice scream. Bye-bye.